Chag Sameach. It's wonderful to be together on this beautiful autumnal morning. And I thought we'll begin on page 151. This is a poem, and we should be having our festival and Siddur, and I feel like we all know each other, but this is Chava Morel, I'm Ruth Zlotnick, Jamie Scher's a rock star, and you all are too for being here. But this poem by Adrienne Rich, I think speaks to what is being asked of us as we move through the portal way out of this season, this holiday season. And so she wrote, either you will go through this door or you will not go through. If you go through, there is always the risk of remembering your name. Things look at you doubly and you must look back and let them happen. If you do not go through, it is possible to live worthily, to maintain your attitudes, to hold your position, to die bravely. But much will blind you, much will evade you. At what cost, who knows? The door itself makes no promises. It's only a door. And so we walk through the threshold of this season, and we begin by thanking God for the gift of our bodies. So if you will please join me on page 156. And I just love the Hebrew of this prayer because how it really speaks to all the little pieces of our bodies that help make up this wondrous being that we all inhabit, but for a short time. So please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah, uvara vo nekavim nekavim, chalulim chalulim, galui v'yadua lipnei chisei chevodecha, she'im yipateach echad mehem, o yisatem echad mehem, אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות.
אלוהי אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא אתה בראת אתה יצרת אתה נפחת בי ואתה משמרה בקרבי. אלוהי אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא.
This holiday, this end of Sukkot and anticipation of Simchat Torah is really a reminder of us, to us, to count our blessings, of which we're to say 100 each day. And thank you, Ken Shayevitz, for giving us a running start, starting on page 160.
Feel free to end these in, or even pray them in whatever language you feel comfortable with. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sech v'bina lahavchin ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokach haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten laya'ef koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir shena me'enai unuma me'af apai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Maybe I'll do Torah on the next page, page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Now in Beth Am tradition, we say one more for whatever it is that you particularly are thinking about this week or today or this season. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who brings the colors of the falling leaves.
Has blessed us with the people who have shown up.
Amen.
And so, in addition to saying blessings, we say Pesukei de Zimra, these verses of song that help lighten our heart and lift our spirit. And it's said if you sing Psalm 150, it's as if you've prayed every psalm together. So, Chava, would you lead us in Psalm 150, page 181?
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Kol haneshama tehilal, all that breathes, every soul praises the one who created us. The time has come to rise up in body or spirit for Baruch Hu, page 188. Let's remain standing and continue at the top of page 191 with a variation on this beautiful prayer, thanking God for the morning light. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot.
Ahava Rabbah Avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Emla Gedolah V'Tera, Chamalta Aleinu, Ba'avur Avoteinu, Ve'imoteinu, Shabbat Chuvecha, Shabbat Chuvecha, Avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Vatelamdem Chukechaim, Ken Techonenu Tlamdenu, Harachem, Rachem, Rachem Aleinu, Vetem Belibenu Lehavin, Lehavin Ulhaskil, Lishmoa lilmod ulelamed, Lishmor velasot, Ukayem et kol divrei Talmud Torah techavyava, V'ha'erenenu v'torah techa, V'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha, V'yachel l'vavenu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha, Lo nevosh, Lo nikalem, Lo nikashel, Le'olam va'ed, Ki v'shem kodshav, Hagadol v'hanora b'tachnu, Nagila v'nismecha, Nagila v'nismecha v'yeshuatecha, V'havienu l'shalom me'arba להודות לך, ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה.
Helen Keller has said, I believe that God is in me as the sun is in the color and the fragrance of a flower, the light in my darkness, the voice in my silence. I think that's as great a definition of God's oneness as I've ever read.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta is on page 196.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. And I noticed that so many of us, when we talked about the ingathering, held on to our tzitzit, the fringes. And traditionally that image has always been about the ingathering of all of the Jewish community that's been exiled, as it were. But there's something beautiful about that notion of an ingathering that we just figure out how to come together. And that's probably part of what the holiday season is about, that we come together as a community. And this reading before Micha Mocha seems particularly apt in that idea of how do we stand together as we move from one place to another, especially as this holiday season happens during a year when we are at war, we're in an election season. This is when we have to gather together and stand together. So please read with me at the top of page 203 before we sing our song of liberation, our song of freedom. We can only get there together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai, that wherever we are, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Amen. We rise, embody our spirit for the tefillah, and just as a bonus, today we begin to pray for rain. And so when we get to the Gibberot, just take note. The days of Tal, the days of dew are behind us. The days of wind and rain are ahead of us.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yizkor, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone hakol, vezocher chastei avot ve'imahot, umevi geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo ve'ahava. Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayehat Holat Harav Lehoshia, Mashiv Haruach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Michamocha Baal Kivurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hato, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh.
It looks like 212.
Sorry.
No, I think, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Festival morning and afternoon, Kedusha. Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Kishem shemachishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatu b'yad neviecha, V'kara ze'el ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Ma'adir Shimcha, B'chol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Echadu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, V'hu Yashmienu, B'rachamav le'enei kochai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Zion, L'dor v'dor, Hallelujah. L'dor v'dor nagid godlecha, Ulenetzach netzachim kedushacha nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
We continue on page 216 with the Kedushat Hayom. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu ya'aleh v'yabo v'yizacher zikronenu v'zikaron kol amcha Beit Yisrael lefanecha l'tova l'chein u'l'chesed u'rachamim l'chaim u'shalom b'yom hashmini chag ha'atzeret hazeh. Our God and God of our ancestors, be mindful of your people Israel and recall our merit for good and grace and in loving kindness and compassion for life and peace on this festival of Atzeret Simchat Torah. Zokrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova, ufalkdenu bo livracha, v'hoshienu bo l'chaim. This day remember us for well-being. This day bless us with your nearness. This day help us to a fuller life. And we'll continue with the rest of the Amidah in silence. And please feel free to be seated when your prayer is done.
sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, v'rachamim. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Sim shalom, tova uvracha. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Aleinu ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Am echad, sim shalom, tova uvracha, sim shalom, tova uvracha.
Said that every Jewish prayer is a prayer for peace. To hear that prayer said in that way, I kind of feel like we can just go home now. That was so beautiful. And with that same full-hearted belief that we can bring peace, we also believe in rejoicing, and that is what we do on festival days. So we always take a moment, maybe not to do the full Hallel, but just get a bissel of Hallel, just a little taste of Hallel. So if you'll join me, this is actually considered a great mitzvah, a great sacred obligation to say these psalms of praise during our festival season. And so the blessing for Hallel is on page 296, I believe. And if you'll join me in saying the blessing, and then Chava, if you'll lead us in some songs of praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et ha-Hallel. And so what do you feel like beginning with?
Let's try Psalm 114 on page 298, which is the one that starts with B'tzeit Yisrael. And then about halfway down, there's a call and response. So if you don't know the words, just repeat after me. Do your best. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am Loez. Hayta Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael mamshelotav. Hayam ravayanos hayarden yisov leachor. Harim rakadu chelim Givaot kivnei tzon Malecha hayam Kitanus Hayarden Tisov lechor Harim Tirkadu che'elim Givaot Kivnei tzon Milifnei Adon Chuli Haaretz Milifnei Eloach Yaakov Tov Elohaya Hahofchi Hatzur Agamayim Chalamish Lemaino Mayim Thank you, Jewish Day School, 1984.
Wonderful. Should we also maybe do Pithuli?
Sure.
Or,
Yeah.
or is that enough Hallel?
Well, we could always go on with more Hallel. Does anyone have a Hallel request?
Hodu.
I know, I love that one. Okay, there's a beautiful, no, that's not the one I know. I know a beautiful one by Debbie Friedman. It's really pretty. Is it worth doing? Let's try it. We'll see if I can find a key.
I think so. What do you all think? Hear Hava sing some more?
Okay, I'm gonna try my best. Hodu Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto ki le'olam chasto Yomarna Yisrael ki le'olam chasto ki le'olam chasto Yomuna 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 ve'daron ki le'olam chasto ki le'olam chasto Yomuna 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 Yirei Adonai ki le'olam chasto ki le'olam chasto.
That was so sweet. Thank you. And I love that phrase, ki le'olam chasto, because it can't really be translated, but it's something about how God's loving kindness is eternal. In some way, we feel it when we sing these songs of praise. So I think we're ready now then to turn to our service for reading Torah. Because those of us who are here are a small enough group, I'm going to invite, if it's okay with you, Chava, I'm going to invite everyone just to join us up on the bima. And so I hope that's okay with you, Jamie. That'll be where we'll all be. And just to let you know, usually on this festival, things have gotten a little fakakta this year because we're actually being, usually we just do a 7-day festival, that's it. And so we do Simchat Torah and Shmini Atzer. It's a very complicated situation, but this year it turns out that the 8th night of Sukkot is also a Friday night, so what a wonderful time to celebrate Simchat Torah. So if you want to hear the end of Deuteronomy and the beginning of Genesis, come tomorrow night. What we are going to do this morning, is just have the very end of Deuteronomy, and so when we end it, we'll strengthen ourselves until we're about to begin tomorrow night with Chazak, Chazak, Benit Chazak. So, I'm going to invite everyone to please join us up on the bima for our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, service for reading Torah.
Ki
Here it is. It's like, I know we have this. So we are reading the very end of the book of Deuteronomy. And if you all will do us the honor of the blessing, here we go. Baruch Adonai Hambarak Le'olam Va'ed. Amen. Do you need some help holding this?
Yeah, but you know what? Just do it this way. So close to the end. Reach it. I'm starting with the word. Velokam navi'od. Velokam. Okay, amen. Velokam navi'od. Israel. Moshe. Asher yad'o Adonai panim al panim l'chol ha'otot v'hamoftim asher shalcho Adonai la'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim l'faro l'chol avodah l'chol artso l'chol hayad ha'chazaka L'chol hamorah gadol asher asa Moshe le'einei chol Yisrael.
Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened. And then with the Torah still before us, we'll say the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah.
And Carl, would you just read those last verses in English that Chava just beautifully chanted for us?
Never again did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord singled out face to face for the various signs and portents that the Lord sent him to display in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his courtiers and his whole country, and for all the great might and awesome power that Moses displayed before all Israel.
And so if there is an audio book of Torah, it should be in Carl's voice. That was so awesome, thank you. And so we're here in front of the Torah, and it's usually our time for communal blessings. And so I'm wondering if you all have anyone you're thinking of at this time who you'd like to share a prayer for healing for.
Tracy Montgomery, Bill Shivers, and Charles Silverman.
So we continue with our prayer for healing.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
May each and everyone know a full and speedy healing. Amen. So I think what we'll do is lift and dress and return Torah to the ark. Ronnie, you think you can handle this Hagbah?
Bezot HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 yai, dai, 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 dai.
We'll go back to our seats for the rest of our service. That was just like the sweetest, coziest little Torah service ever. But, and as Ronnie was putting the Torah back, making sure it stayed, it reminds me of when I was in seminary at Hebrew Union College in New York. It has these glass arc doors that refract light. They're very cool, but they never close properly. And I remember one year for the Purim spiel, what we did was we got masking tape and we just, taped it. Kind of a strange segue into our Yizkor service, but so be it. So we turn now to our shift in tone. And as we take this gorgeous festival morning where we talk about light refracting through the colors of the sacred ark that are the trees around us, we recognize that in every moment we have the opportunity to feel a sense of blessing. But there's a particular poignancy, a particular sweetness to the sense of blessing that we have at this season. And traditionally in the season of Sukkot, not only do you acknowledge the beauty of the harvest or the fact that our lives are fragile but made sweeter by being in community and represented by the fragile booths of the Sukkot, but we also traditionally read the words of Kohelet, which if ever there was a book that was written through the eyes of a mourner, of someone who's seen a lot, the book of Kohelet, also known as Ecclesiastes, which our tradition teaches were Solomon's words as an old man. We read this strangely philosophic book even in this Zman Simchatenu, this time of our joy. And one of my favorite poems by one of my favorite poets, Yehuda Amichai, takes issue with Kohelet, takes issue with Ecclesiastes, especially as we think about Yizkor, this moment of memory, this moment of acknowledging our mortality. Yehuda Amichai has written, "A man doesn't have time in his life to have time for everything. He doesn't have seasons enough to have a season for every purpose under heaven." Ecclesiastes was wrong about that. A man needs to love and to hate at the same moment, to laugh and cry with the same eyes, with the same hands to throw stones and to gather them, to make love in war and war in love, and to hate and forgive and remember and forget, to arrange and confuse, to eat and to digest what history takes years and years to do. A man doesn't have time. When he loses, he seeks. When he finds, he forgets. When he forgets, he loves. When he loves, he begins to forget. And his soul is seasoned. His soul is very professional. Only his body remains forever an amateur. It tries and it misses, gets muddled, doesn't learn a thing, drunk and blind in its pleasures and its pains. He will die as figs die in autumn, shriveled and full of himself and sweet, the leaves growing dry on the ground, the bare branches pointing to the place where there is time for everything. I love how this poem opens us up to this particular season. We're told that it's Zman Simchatenu, the season of our joy, but this comes right after the Yamim Norim, the days of awe. We have these incredible days of awe. Then we move into this time of joy. I think this poem and Kohelet are a reminder that while we luxuriate in the beauty of autumn, we are always moving towards winter, and the beauty around us will soon be dormant, about to be reborn again. I'm so moved each year by this weird season, how just 5 days after Yom Kippur we celebrate Sukkot. We savor the fruitfulness of creation and the commonplace pleasure of sharing a meal with family and friends. It may seem misplaced, but on the heels of our Day of Atonement is Sukkot, Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy. The joy of Sukkot is unique, as Rabbi Alan Liu has described. The special joy we feel at Sukkot is a cathartic joy, a joy in direct proportion to the anxiety of the high holidays. We will live another year, the rains will come, the crops will grow, we will live. From the heights of Yom Kippur, we are beckoned back to the ground of ordinary existence. We have no choice but to move on forward into life. Anyone who has lost someone they love knows this rhythm well. Whether our loved one has died suddenly or after a prolonged illness, their death stuns us. The world as we know it is gone, turned upside down. I've shared this before, but when my mother died, I was amazed during the period of Shiva how clearly I saw the world. The superficial veils of everyday life seemed to slip away, and the petty grievances I normally feel vanished. I saw my family and myself and my community with profound love and generosity and compassion. No matter how minute, every gesture of comfort reverberated through my heart. The cost for this heightened awareness was too dear, and I would have traded it for a second to have my mom back. And yet I was filled with gratitude that the immediate impact of my mother's death was greater vision and joy, not greater bitterness. 11 months and 1 week later, I sat in a synagogue weeping because in the community where I prayed at the time, only mourners recite Kaddish. According to our tradition, my year of mourning for my mother had ended, and now it was incumbent on me to respond to those whose loss was more recent and therefore more acute. I shed furious tears of indignation. How dare our tradition tell me I was no longer a mourner, as if I could suddenly discard my grief. But when I descended the steps of the synagogue and breathed in the early evening air, I did feel a burden lift. Our tradition is so wise. It compels us back to life, even when we want to cling to the past. Perhaps there was a part of me that did not want to lose the insight I had gained during my time of mourning. Left to my own devices, I might have mourned my mother forever, believing that remaining in mourning was a way to honor her memory. But Judaism urges us to grieve our loved ones, remember them with ritual regularity, and when the time comes, to release ourselves from the weight of mourning. We remember our loved ones at Yizkor for the same reason that we build a sukkah immediately after we break the fast for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur and the death of our loved one are moments of overpowering change. We move from what was to what is. We move from the contemplative heights of the days of awe to the earthly pleasures of Sukkot. We move from the sympathetic detachment of the mourner to the hectic engagement in life. We yearn to linger in the past, yet we move to the fullness of the present. Life pulses on. We, the living, continue to remember our loved ones. We, the living, continue to live. In the year to come, may we all be inscribed in the book of life, as this is our final time to wish that to one another. And may our lives be made sweeter by the memory of those who have come before us. We know we don't have time for everything. Amichai is so right about that. But we will always have time for memory, and we will always have time for love. They are both eternal. Zikronam livracha, may the ones that we are remembering, may their lives and their memory forever be a blessing. Amen.
Adonai roi lo echsar b'no deshe yarbitzeini al mei nuchot yanahaleini nafshi shovev yeshovev yancheini b'maglei tzedek leman shemo gam ki eilech begeit salmavet lo ira ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha heima yanachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorarai dishanta b'shemen roshi kosi revaya ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti beveit Adonai le'orech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai roi lo echsar.
To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. On this commemoration of Yizkor, we are remembering these loved ones who have died since our last holiday season, since the last period of Sukkot, Shmini Atzeret, and Simchat Torah. We are remembering Thanette Summerbloom, Renee Braveman, Robin Burke, Henry Butler, Alan Butzel, Eduardo de la Madrid, Edith Evans, Malcolm Garber, Ruth Gelb, Lenore Ginsberg, Elgie Ginsberg, Charles Glatstein, Sharon Glickman, Jerome Goldberg, Mary Sue Goldsmith, Georgia Goodmanson, Amy Gottlieb, Ruth Grossman, Philip Herzog, Daniel Herstein, Beryl Hoff, Ruth Karp, Leon Katz, Ruth Kaufman, Robert Klein, Janet LaRosa, Elaine Leviton, Bill Monroe, Marilyn Noble, Carolyn O'Brien, Rhoda Oakes, Murray Oakes, Hyman Paisner, Barbara Peltz, Harlan Rips, Evelyn Robinson, Peter Rowe, Annette Sarles, Chuck Savage, Shirley Schwartz, Gary Seitz, Julie Shapiro, Cecilia Sharp, Herbert Shaw, Aaron Siegel, Charles Silverman, Thomas Simon, Sonia Spear, Sally Stutman, Dorothy Viss, Nuzia Walker, Edith Weinstein, David Warshel, Bernice Zeichner. We'll take some time now in silent contemplation. The silent Yizkor prayers begin on page 316, and we'll continue after a few moments of silence. I invite you to please rise as we continue with El Malay Rachamim, page 318.
El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamatzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShekhinah, Im Kadoshim Uthorim, Kazohar Harakia, Mazhirim. Nishmat Yakirenu Shahalchu Le'olamam Ba'al Harachamim Yastirem Beseter Knafav Le'olamim Bitzror Hachayim Et Nishmatam Adonai hu nachalatam v'yanuchu b'shalom al mishkavam v'nomar Amen.
Fully compassionate God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure. whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. Let them rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And then we will continue with the Mourner's Kaddish on page 334. And I invite you, if there's anyone who you'd like to include. So we'll say together on this Yizkor. What? Oh. Oh. No. And what was the relationship? Oh. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, with those and those we hold in our hearts and those for whom our Yizkor prayers are being said as well, we continue. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divra chirute v'amlik malkute v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dekol Beit Yisrael v'agala uv'gizman v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mibarak Le'olam Olmei Olmaya Yitbarak V'yishtabak V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudasha Brechu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran V'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. Zikronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. We're just going to conclude with a closing song. I think there is no Nosh, so we don't have Kiddush and Motzi. I could be wrong. I'll check there while we're singing. But I do want to let you know at 6:15 tomorrow evening, we're going to have an abbreviated Kabbalat Shabbat service, including the unrolling of the Torah, and we're going to have Hakavot, dancing with the Torah. There will be some chairs, but mostly this will be empty, and we need as many big people who are willing to hold the Torah for our little ones as possible. So what should our closing song be? And I'll just check and see.
Oseh shalom b'mroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thank you, Chava. Thank you, Jamie. Ronnie's already popped up to do Ronnie's thing, and we can show Ronnie our love by bringing our prayer books back to the book cart. Really, thank you all. Thank you, everyone on Zoom. We're glad you're there, and thank you all for being here.
Julie Silver. He's coming to town.